Welcome to episode 3 of the Miss Lady Tycoon show. Today I want to discuss my love and hate with social media and the social isolation that comes with it. Is it just on social media, or has this isolation crept inside of our everyday lives? Also, the philosophical phrase of know thyself. Is that just a cliche phrase, or can someone really know thyself? My thoughts on that and anything else on my fascinating mind coming up next on the Miss Lady Tycoon Show.
This is the Miss Lady Tycoon Show. She's a multifaceted Gemini woman talking about everything from style and fashion to motherhood and entrepreneurship, even relationship chat, living abroad, and anything else on her fascinating mind. It's mental multitasking with one woman and many lives on the Miss Lady Tycoon Show.
Yet another episode of the Miss Lady Tycoon Show. It has been a very solemn week, and not so much solemn, just so much going on in so many different directions. So if you feel that I'm kind of like laid back this week, I have some planetary things going on that, I guess it requires some, of course, Mercury retrograde is going on right now as well, which, also causes people to, replay some things or reevaluate things that are going on in their lives. So with that being said, I'm here. I'm excited about this episode because what happened is on episode 2, I was recording the episode, and during the recording, something hit me, and it is crazy, right? So what happened as I was recording my last episode, I was feeling like I wasn't connecting with the content, right? So what do I mean by that? So last episode, I kept saying things like, I didn't watch that, or I don't watch the Oscars, or I, didn't get to see her say this, but basically I read it. Okay. And so the problem that I was feeling at the time is, how can I really connect with the information if I'm not actually watching it? For many people who are into astrology, I have some heavy things going on with Sagittarius, and of course in Gemini as well. And anyone knows Sagittarians, they're very philosophical. They're very, their mind works differently, and it's more intrigued with more psychological things or philosophical things of that nature. And so in honor of me being true to myself, I decided to change my topics where they're going to be more of things that I would be discussing if I was in my home talking to, my friends, or the types of conversation that I have within myself, as opposed to what I think people might want to hear about. So, So with that being said, you're going to see a different style. Not so much style. No, I don't want to say style, but I do want to say context, or the information that I will be discussing with you will be different in this episode. So I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy. This is going to more than likely reach out to a different type of audience than what I don't know, aiming for. I wasn't really aiming for anything. I just thought that I would do trending topics, which I don't think that is my flow, which I'm cool with. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into social media, right? So I think it's been about maybe a week and a half. It could even be 2 weeks that I really haven't been participating on social media the way that I normally do, or, the way that I had been trying to build myself up to get back to social media. I would say over almost a year and a half now. It was actually December 2016. I kind of just fell off of social media the way that I wanted to, the way that I had been. My mom had gotten sick, and we had said, they had told us that she had 6 months to live, and I was kind of reflecting on that, and revisiting some childhood things. And so I didn't really want to be on social media like that. And of course, everybody goes through certain things in their lives where social media becomes, something that's on the back burner. But I had been, coming back, getting back into the groove of things. Plus, we have online businesses, so it's really hard to kind of, disregard social media altogether. But I haven't been as active. So within this past couple of weeks, I had noticed that I was not even feeling, the need to post any memes or any selfies or anything, just nothing. I just was like kind of chilling. And it got me to thinking about social media and how it affects us as people. But it also got me thinking about a lot of other things, right? So with social media, I already know that there is a thing called social isolation. And what that is several things. But social isolation in the time of social media, like how can you feel isolated when the whole thing is about being social? Well, social isolation can happen a lot of times when people are on social media, and let's say that they were supposed to go out. Let's say it's Friday night, Saturday night, and they had plans to go out with friends. And let's just say that their friends all cancel. And so they're like, well, you know what? That's okay. I'll go home. I'll have me some wine. I'll read a book and blase, blase. So they do that. And then, of course, what do you do when you're at home chilling by yourself? You're like, okay, let me get on social media. So you're on social media and you're scrolling through the timelines, and everybody's having fun. People at the beach, they're partying with their friends, they're at restaurants. I mean, it's just like, whoa, it's like that, And then people begin to feel like, what's up with my life? Why am I not, one of the people? Why didn't people invite me? That's one thing dealing with social isolation. That's one of the situations that come up when you're dealing with social isolation. Also, another example is, now this one is more so me. Like, I can be like in an excellent mood and I'll jump on social media. And now this was before I kind of changed my settings, especially on Facebook. But I jump on Facebook or social media, whatever it is, Twitter, it really doesn't matter. People post the same things depending on who you follow. So I would get on there and I'm like in a great mood, chilling. And then like the first 5 posts, just the first 5 posts, they're like, oh, well, this person was shot and killed, and this building blew up, and this school shooting, and just the most heinous things that you can think of are happening all around us. And although I can do the little block thing, but really it's all about me protecting my energies. By the time, I would get off of social media during those times, my whole energy had changed and I didn't like that. I'm feeling the energies of everyone else, and that's not necessarily what I wanted to do with my day. And so now I'm working on, after I would go through that type of episode, I would be working on trying to center myself back, trying to go into a slight meditation just to kind of, heal myself from the information that I just taken in, and just all of the different things where it creates social isolation. When you know that so much things are going on in the world, you almost don't even want to participate with certain things. You just want to kind of protect yourself and not necessarily be involved in all of the pain and all of the hurt that's going on. Now, there are some more examples of social isolation, but just from those two, I think that we've all had, one of those different scenarios play out with ourselves. And then also, there have been studies of social media use and mental health. And when you're thinking about that, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because, you're playing with people's emotions, and we all know that Facebook is a social experiment anyway, meaning that a lot of those platforms, they will feed you certain things on your timeline, then to see how those particular people or that case study of individuals, what their post turn around and become. So social media has been used to not only finagle with our emotions, but to also, we're used as like lab rats, social lab rats, to see how we respond to certain situations that are given to us over and over and over and over again. And so researchers, as we know, have found that people who use social media and different platforms like Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, even LinkedIn, really, but the different platforms that are available, those people report like symptoms of anxiety and depression. And the longer you use social media, it predicts more depressive symptoms. So when we're looking at social media, it's not necessarily, because this is something that I started doing, changing my notifications. And it's not always doom and gloom on social media. That's why I say I have a love-hate relationship with social media, because it's not always, dealing with social media and mental health and all of those things. A lot of times people are really using social media to uplift the people around them, right? So there are many people who plug into social media to strengthen existing relationships. And if you're in social media and you're posting positivity, or you're posting where it's not necessarily positive, but it may be something that you went through, where you can actually, that somebody else may be going through, and you found a way to overcome that particular situation. So you're sharing it and other people are aligning with what you went through, and you're actually helping them. Those are the situations where social media can be great. It can be a place where you can reach out to people who on a regular basis you may not have been able to reach out to before, or even do business and build relationships and hold retreats with different people that you've met and felt their energy online. So it's not always doom and gloom. And when you're strengthening those existing relationships, the mental health issue or the mental health outcomes may be very different if you're on social media out of desperation or out of loneliness, or if your boyfriend just broke up with you, or your husband is fighting and the kids aren't listening, and you know your car broke down and you couldn't make it to the restaurant to chill with your friends, or you can't afford the luxury vacation that you see people are having on social media. So you can really understand how those types of situations can cause one to feel very isolated. But then let me take it a step further. So just because you're not on social media, let's say, okay, I'm not on social media, I'm not going to do the thing, I'm not going to be on there for, let's say, 2 days. I'm giving myself a 2-day break. You do realize, and this occurred to me as I was thinking about the topic, but you do realize that this world has really been created to the point where people really don't even want to socialize with other people anyway. So let me give you an example of what I mean. So when you go out, you can literally not be on social media. You can literally go out somewhere, go order your food. You can order your food over the phone, go pick it up, stop and get gas. You can stop and get a bottle of wine or whatever it is you want. You can go and be out amongst people and really not ever have to say not one word to anyone. Like literally, things are really made to, even Amazon has it now where you can order food, go grocery shopping, and they will deliver it to your house in 2 hours. That also is a form of social isolation, but without social media. And so I'm finding that, it takes more of an effort to really have that one-on-one, face-to-face conversation with people than it used to with, like even sometimes I'm out, and I really understand the everybody with the phones taking selfies. Like it can be a group of people and everyone's at the table like, yeah, what's up, taking pictures of the food and what have you. And even sometimes hubby, he's real big into doing the recording and the filming that goes on with our online platforms. Sometimes he's, editing a video that he just did, and I'm sitting there with Sela and we just having our little, mommy daughter thing, trying to get, her acclimated to what she's eating or what have you. And sometimes that can be very weird, to say the least. But it's even weirder when you're looking around and you see everybody doing that same thing. Like everybody is on their cell phones. And I would really like to implement where, I've heard of people putting all of their cell phones in the middle of the table during dinner and no one looks at it. Yeah, take a picture of your photo, but post it when you get home or post it in the car or something. Let's just use this time for face-to-face interaction and just to be able to get on one accord with one another. So that's my spiel about social isolation, social media. Okay, moving right along to the phrase, know thyself. Now, we've all heard of this phrase. Well, at least I would think that everyone has heard of this phrase, but it's mainly just like a philosophical phrase that was, I don't know, from ancient Egypt it came from, or they say Socrates. But know thyself. Let me tell you, when not the first time I heard it, but the first time that I remember someone saying it to me, and it had a profound effect on that event or surrounding that time of when she said it. So there's a girl that I knew from I don't know, elementary school, middle school, and I bumped back into her back in 2000, I would say 8. And she's like very deep, did a lot of studying, did a lot of research on so many different things. And she had all of these videos, and she handed me and my husband a video. She looked me directly in my eyes and she said, "Listen, sis, you have to know thyself." She said, "If you don't know who you are, do not watch this video." I was like, whoa. And then that automatically brought up questions like, of course we watched the video. It didn't matter what, like, I want to know what. So, but that is really profound. Like, the information in the video, and it's very true. That information could truly dispel a lot of what people have grown to believe as their truth. And if you don't know yourself, then how will you handle that truth that you believe is yours? And so that was the first time that phrase really stood out to me, because I really had to analyze very quickly if I know myself. Now, knowing thyself. So let's take a look at that concept for just a second. So when she was saying to know thyself, we had to analyze certain things that we knew of ourselves, and whatever information we were going to come across, we had to decide if that's going to change who we knew of ourselves, right? But also, when you think of the phrase know thyself, it also has like this kind of self-help appeal to it, right? So what I mean by that is your aim to accept yourself? When someone says know thyself, are they telling you, look, you need to accept who you are? Well, in my opinion, in order to accept who you are, you need to know thyself first in order to do that, right? So when someone says know thyself, is it to make good decisions? Decisions that's right for you, or right for the people around you, really right for you, because you really can't make decisions based on the people around you. I don't think, I could be wrong, but if you're making decisions that are right for you, again, it would be difficult to make correct decisions if you don't know who you are, right? So the problem is that none of this is based on a realistic picture of who the self is and how we in turn make decisions for the self. The whole thing of knowing thyself is not as simple as it seems. In fact, it might even be a serious philosophical type of, I don't know, like it can cause confusion within yourself. Know thyself. Now, let me explain what I'm getting at, because it's crazy when you really think about it. So let's take just the everyday example. is going to be just as basic as I can get. Let's say you go to Starbucks or to your local cafe. We used to go to, we were in Colombia and Costa Rica, different places. We used to have different coffee shops on the corners. We would go there, and that's the big thing. They have coffee like all day long. It could be like noon and they drinking coffee. It could be 3 o'clock and they having coffee. So that was the thing. So go to your local coffee on the corner cafe and order an espresso. Why? Just a momentary whim, something that you want to do. Are you trying something new? Maybe the owner of the cafe, and she would judge you if you ordered like a cappuccino at 11 a.m. as opposed to just a regular black coffee. Like, I don't know, I'm just saying. Or did you order the espresso just because you are truly an espresso type of person? So I would say that the last of these options really reflects why you would choose the espresso. Look, I just like espresso, so I'm an espresso type of person. You do much of what you do because you think it meshes with the kind of person who you think you are. Like, you order the steak and egg, or you order the, steak with smothered in gravy with eggs on the side. I don't know, eggs Benedict, because you're that type of person. But it's part of who you are. And this goes for many of our daily choices. We just go in and we just do things because that's who we are. You go to the philosophical section of the bookstore and you do certain things because you are into that. You are a person who cares about those things, or that appeals to you. Now, let's ask this question. We all have fairly stable ideas of what kind of people we are, right? And that's all well and good, but sometimes we just do things completely out of habit. Sometimes, like, I remember there was a point, and my husband still picks at me to this day. He's like, there was a point I was like, I don't like coffee. I don't like coffee. I don't think I like coffee anymore. What's the problem? I don't like coffee. And every morning I would still have a cup of coffee. And it was so strange. Like, it was just something that I would do. It was like routine. And so my point is, there is a very deep problem with the mental setup of saying to know thyself. Why? Because people change, and there are like traumatic periods or things that drastically change in our life. Let's say if there's a time of, romantic love, or, you're going through a divorce or having children, or you move to a different area, or just whatever it is, we become aware of these changes. And let's say you have kids, you probably notice that you've suddenly become a morning person versus sleeping till noon. You suddenly notice that you instantly change. Most of the times, these changes happen gradually, and they happen under the radar. And there are a few things that happen with these changes that we have to understand. And those things are, the more that you are exposed to something, the more likely it is for you to like it. That is just something that you become. That's why they say if you do something for, I think it's 21 days, whatever, if you do something every day for 21 days, it becomes a habit. Another thing that is even more troubling than constantly repetition of things that you may not even like anymore and haven't even realized that you don't like it. You just working on autopilot. The other thing is that the more your desire for something becomes frustrated to you, the more you tend to dislike it. And these changes happen gradually as well, and a lot of times without us even noticing it. So the problem is this: if we change while our self-image remains the same, then there will be a deep difference between who we are and who we think we are, right? And that is where the conflict begins. That's where everything starts of the whole know thyself phenomenon. We think that that who we are right now is the finished product. We think that, when we change who we are, that, or when we no longer like a certain thing, we think that people may even judge us, or we may no longer be compatible with the person that we are in love with, or we may have evolved out of our comfort zone circle of friends, or you know religion wise, you may not even, once you start changing and knowing thyself, knowing of that person may not be the person who believes in what you used to believe in. And so that's why I say, knowing thyself, do we ever really know ourselves? Like, we can know who we are at this particular moment in time, before we've had this experience, or before we've had this knowledge, or before we've been given some information during our meditative state, or before we've had a download from sun gazing. There, you can't really ever really know thyself for the rest of your life. You can know basically who you are and what you like, but that can change at any given time. So why is this such a big issue? Because it might be okay when it comes to things like ordering that espresso, right? So maybe you do slightly prefer cappuccino or macchiato, caramel macchiato, right? But you think of yourself as an espresso kind of person, like, espresso, this is what I do. I needed to be strong, so you just keep ordering the espresso, and then you begin enjoying yourself, your morning drink, or whenever you're drinking your coffee, just a little bit less, right? And so that's not such a big deal. But what is true of espresso is true of other preferences and of other values that you have in your life. The real harm in the situation is that you spend much of your time doing something that you particularly don't even like to do. And instead, it is that of our human mind that does not like the contradictions, right? So it does its best to hide this contradiction. You feel one way, but you're trying to keep the self-image of what it is that you really want to do or how you really feel. And it becomes a contradiction within itself. And being able to hide that contradiction between what we like and who we are takes a lot of energy, right? It takes a lot of energy and a lot of mental effort that really leaves us with a lot less energy to do the things that we really like, that we really want to do. And we're trying to fit in with the same group that we've always fit in with. And, we're trying not to have to build new relationships and do, new things in our new realm of thinking. It really becomes very dissatisfying. And if you have very little mental energy left, then it's even that much more difficult to switch off that TV when you know you don't even really like watching TV no more. You're not interested in the shows that are available to you, or you resist um, spending half an hour on just scrolling through Facebook and Instagram, going back to the social media first topic of the show. So, know thyself, right? Um, if we take the importance of change in our lives seriously, then knowing thyself just really isn't an option. Like I said earlier, you may be able to know what you think of yourself in this particular moment. You may be able to know exactly what you want and would like to do in this particular moment, but what you think of yourself is very different from who you are and what you actually like to do in a couple of days or a couple of weeks or even a few months. That just might change. And so let me know what you think about that. Can you really know thyself? Personally, I feel that knowing thyself is an obstacle to acknowledging and making peace with constantly changing things within our lives, or changing our values and things of that nature. So, if you do know thyself to be such and such kind of person, then this limits the freedom of being able to accept the person of who you can become. Hopefully, I was clear on that thought of know thyself, and I look forward to hearing what your thoughts are on that particular topic. And coming up next, Miss Lady Tycoon Weekly Mind Shift. It took me, I would say, the first, I don't know, um, 10 years of my adult life to truly believe that I was worthy of a life on my terms. Now, I know that might sound funny because of what I post, teach, and preach, and all of those things, but what we all know is that we always teach or speak about those same things that we need to learn. You know what I'm saying? So, if you want to know the truth, I've never ever remember questioning whether I was good enough to make it as a messenger or a visionary. I definitely went through the spirals for years, actually, but the biggest thing for me was wondering how to do what I knew that I was born to do. And yes, even questioning who would even want to listen. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely took my sweet time, and my husband will tell you that, but my sweet time to actually just start even saying what I wanted to say, whether it was in my business or um, in my uh, relationships or things of that nature, but and not just intimate relationships. I mean my regular personal relationships. But deep down, I always knew that I was born to impact a lot of people and change the world, and I was going to do that regardless. So I guess what I'm talking about as far as my own self-worth is, it's more to do with my inherent worthiness as a person, as a woman, as Donna, as Miss Lady Tycoon. I didn't grow up questioning that part of worthiness. I think that the questioning started in my adult life. So I gradually started feeling not good enough or not cool enough, or worried that people wouldn't like me, worried that even my own friends might not really like me. I don't know why. I don't know. Um, all I know is that things started changing around me. And I actually think it's common for those of us who have one foot in and one foot out of reality, meaning one foot in the real world and 1 foot out in like spirituality and the spiritual world. So I never did really live in that real world after all. It was always the world inside of my head that was so interesting to me. And I know a lot of you know what I'm speaking about. So I do suppose that on one hand, I was able to fit in, be accepted, and be cool. And on the other hand, as I got older, I just wanted to be alone. I found myself wanting to just be with myself, be able to write, think, get to know me as a person. And this, of course, was a time after my party days. So after my party days no longer satisfied me. So there was a time when partying was everything to me, but then there was a time when I just wanted to be with me and to get to know and understand who I am. But let me tell you a secret. A lot of the time, I still want to just go and hide in a little small cafe and put my headphones on and just block out everything, everybody, the world, so I can just think, so I can just read, so I can just be me, right? And just create and let everything else just fade away. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt like, even if you really, really, really tried and gave it your all, that you just don't have what it takes to fit in? Well, I have to tell you that not to spoil the ending here, but I think it's important just to get it right off the bat that I need you to embrace that. I believe that those of us who are called to do certain things with their life path, we end up living 2 lives, 1 foot in and 1 foot out. The real world, where we still want to be like the other girls and boys, and let's be honest, in some ways, whether it's wanting to look or appear a certain way, or wanting to be accepted, or wanting to be around, to at least have the option to pretend we can act like that, or dance like that, or be cool like that, or to just be enough um, when the world, which, if we're fully honest with ourselves, the world where everything around us is irrelevant, where space and time ceases to exist, where we go within and where we let out everything we were always here for. I don't know about you, but that world is the world I live for. I've always heard people say purpose first, before everything. And sometimes I feel like every other role that I've had to play in my life is just something that I must endure, for as little time as possible, so I can get back into that particular world where, when I'm in that world, I'm happy, I'm free, I'm doing what I'm meant to do, I'm just being me. But at the same time, and the more time passes, I feel the anxiety of knowing that at some point I must return to the other world, the exit and flow, play the game, head up, smile, exist, stay within the lines, don't, go outside of the lines. And I think that's also one of my issues that I have with social media, just, still kind of trying to be within the certain realm of things. At some point, I guess I did start to go outside of the line, because the thing with the world we want to live in, the world of purpose and passion and flow and creating, is that it's not a world where practical human needs can be met. So, what do I mean by that? I mean, in that world, there's no food there, there's no shelter, there's no sleep, there's no consideration there for what we consider to be the norms of society, for what we are expected to do, and for the creation of what most would consider life. What there is your soul being at peace, you living your true life as authentically as possible, which really is everything. That's life. That's like the meaning of life, really. At some point, you do inevitably have to exit stage right and go and play with the other people, go and play with the humans, which lately I've been finding is exhausting. And most of the time, eventually you learn that there are others that are exactly like you. Other people out there that masquerade when needed as a normal person, and others who, just like you, can float on by appearing to be one of them, but who are actually living in that same other plane as you do, trying to figure out what it is that you want from life, and just being at peace with exactly who you are, not having to wear the mask for the world. And eventually you learn that it's okay to play outside the lines and to be you, even in this world. One foot in, the whole freaking mind, heart, soul out. When you find those others, you have to hold on to that group of people. And I don't know if it was really that I didn't feel accepted, or if it was at a deeper level just that I knew none of it mattered, that I wasn't born for the world, so why pretend? Like, either way though, it has caused me to manufacture a lot of pain for myself, and in some cases for those even around me, as I fought to keep the one foot in the normal person world, be like the other girls, do what you got to do to fit in. And it was never going to work anyway, and I see that now. And I want to let you know that if you're trying to keep your human world foot firmly planted and be like the others and do it right, fit in, you're going to fail. It's just no, I mean, I don't even want to say it so bluntly, but it's true. Do it fast, do it now, insist on living what I've heard referred to as your soulmate life. A lot of people are looking for a soulmate as a relationship, but you have a soulmate life. And for me, it has mostly manifested in and it's always been in my relationships. One foot in and one foot out doesn't work so well when it comes to certain relationships. I have some friends that's like, look, I want you to be more vulnerable. I want you to be transparent, and and not necessarily saying I want that from you, but they're helping me pull out what's more authentic within myself. And so the crazy thing is, most of the time I felt like it was me who wanted to be all in and be loved and accepted from the other people. But now I see that the thing I was really lacking all the time was just aligning myself with who I really was. Do you know what I mean? Like, I thought that what I needed was for everybody else to see me and to align with me, but all I actually needed was to love myself and to accept what I came here to do, and to accept that what I was never going to fit in, and accept that actually there are others like me where I would fit in and we could all be our circle. And this has kind of been the theme of everything that I've talked about, because this is the reason that I haven't really been on social media like that, because as I have really been fighting with, you know, who I am versus how the world sees me. As long as we can all back off from each other long enough to let ourselves create, which of course we can because we don't live in a normal world, right? So we're able to step back and let people be who they are. But it took me so long to realize this, and it took me I don't know, maybe until this very moment right now that I'm even recording this, that, let me see how I want to word it, that I'll never really realize, and I'll always be one foot in and one foot out. I don't even see it. It's hard to explain. And you too, you too may be just going through exactly what I'm going through. I do actually think that those of us who are called this way, that's one of the curses that comes along with us being able to share our story or our path. We are born to wander, and our souls will just never rest. I do actually think that even though this sounds like that even though on the surface this sounds like I lost my train of thought. Sounds like a tiring thing. It's actually a blessing. Do you know what I mean? Like, just keep wandering, keep on seeking, keep on creating, stay free. But for so long, I really did try to play in the real world and the world they think is real. I wanted so badly to be a part of everything, you know. Deep down inside, I was terrified that just being me would never necessarily be enough, that I always needed to be more than what I actually was. And who would want me in all of my crazy philosophical madness or crazy spiritual talk, and, you know, always on the lighter side of life, or sometimes even with my head so far in the clouds and my feet mostly floating away. And again, astrologically, I don't have any earth signs in my chart, like none. I'm mostly air and fire and some water. Not one earth sign is in my chart. So for those of you that understand that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm like, my head is in the clouds and my feet, I'm just trying not to float away, you know. It's just like, you know, I'm planting my feet. I just need to plant my feet and be, you know, somewhat like the other girls. Smile, laugh, fit in. And if somebody shows, you know, that they're aligning with me, then I have to kind of like be careful not to rock the boat, or to say certain things that might be like, what is she talking about, you know? And I'm making it sound worse than it really is. Seriously, I really am. But I think that the relationships and friendships that I have been in, mostly they're real. They're real relationships. I have been able to be honest with, my friends and the people that I do consider friends. But what I do say to you is that you do deserve a soulmate life. And not just a soulmate love, although, of course, yes, everybody wants a soulmate love, but a soulmate job, a soulmate every single part of your life. You deserve that because here's the thing that it took me all of these years to figure out, and which I still may not really be 100% clear on. But the reason you can't keep that foot down in the real world is that you weren't supposed to. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you weren't supposed to ever be a part of that world anyway. Yes, you can play the game when needed. Yes, you can act the part. Yes, you must be first and foremost respond to what's inside of you. So when you find yourself worrying about not fitting in, struggling because you don't feel like you're being accepted, or you're caving because you wanted to feel normal for just a moment, prove that on some level that you can be like the others, that you are worthy, or that you can be loved enough. I just want you to remember that. I just want you to remember that that's not the validation that you're looking for. It's really not. Because really, what this is all about, really the big point that I'm trying to make here before I close is the stuff you feel inside of you is real. You, plain and simple, you were born for more, and your mission is not for this world. When you give yourself permission to be who you actually are and to stop desperately needing the critical acclaim of the normal people, you'll find that you are always worthy, and that all you had to do is exactly what you were expecting everyone else to do. And that is to accept who you are. Embrace the madness. Hunt down and hold on to all of the crazy ones, all of the ones that are exactly like you. And never stop wandering or dreaming or going where the flow takes you. And forget what everyone else is talking about. Forget the world. You deserve a soulmate life. You deserve a soulmate life. And I want you to do exactly what is needed to attain it. Remember, live in the moment, live in the moment, live in the moment, and live in the moment. This has been a wrap, episode 3. Thank you for joining in. Follow me on all my social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Snapchat, Instagram. Talk to you soon. Peace.
This has been the Miss Lady Tycoon Show. Want more? Visit www.missladytycoon.com for more episodes, YouTube videos, and to keep the conversation going on social media.